represents a pivotal moment in the biblical narrative, highlighting the consequences of disobedience and the introduction of sin into the world. It explores themes of temptation, choice, responsibility, and the nature of good and evil. This passage recounts the biblical story of the fall of man. A serpent tempts Eve to eat from the forbidden tree of knowledge of good and evil, resulting in her and Adam's expulsion from the Garden of Eden. God punishes the serpent, Eve, and Adam, imposing consequences like suffering and toil. The story explores themes of disobedience, temptation, and the origin of human suffering and mortality. God's actions ultimately prevent humanity from achieving immortality. The Fall of Man, Genesis 2-3. The story of the fall of man in Genesis 2-3 explores themes of disobedience, consequences, and the origin of human sin and suffering. It begins with the temptation, where the serpent, described as more subtle than any beast of the field, deceives Eve by questioning God's command and promising enlightenment. The serpent assures her, "Ye shall not surely die. Your eyes shall be opened, and ye shall be as gods, knowing good and evil." Genesis 3:4-5. Enticed by the serpent's words and the fruit's appeal, Eve eats it and shares it with Adam. This act of disobedience marks their fall from innocence. Their immediate awareness of their nakedness brings shame, leading them to hide from God. When God confronts them, a chain of blame ensues. Adam blames Eve, and Eve blames the serpent. God holds each accountable for their role in the transgression. God pronounces curses as punishment. The serpent is condemned to crawl on its belly and eat dust, with perpetual enmity established between it and the woman's offspring. This enmity foreshadows a future Redeemer. "I will put enmity between thee and the woman, and between thy seed and her seed. It shall bruise thy head, and thou shalt bruise his heel." Genesis 3:15. The woman's punishment is increased pain in childbirth and subjugation to her husband. The man is cursed to toil and hardship in working the land, which will now produce thorns and thistles. Ultimately, death awaits him. "In the sweat of thy face shalt thou eat bread, till thou return unto the ground, for out of it wast thou taken. For dust thou art, and unto dust shalt thou return." Genesis 3:19. To prevent Adam and Eve from eating from the tree of life and living forever in their fallen state, God expels them from the Garden of Eden. Cherubim and a flaming sword guard the garden to prevent re-entry. This expulsion marks a turning point, introducing key theological concepts. Sin is portrayed as a deliberate act of disobedience against God's command, driven by temptation and the desire for forbidden knowledge. The consequences of sin are both immediate and enduring, bringing shame, alienation from God, pain, suffering, and death. Yet, amidst the judgment, the passage offers a promise of redemption. The enmity between the serpent and the woman's seed hints at a future victory over evil and a path to reconciliation with God. Key moments in this narrative resonate deeply. Genesis 3:6 highlights the seductive nature of temptation. "And when the woman saw that the tree was good for food, and that it was pleasant to the eyes, and a tree to be desired, to make one wise, she took of the fruit thereof, and did eat, and gave also unto her husband with her, and he did eat." Genesis 3:15 introduces the proto-evangelium, the first promise of a Messiah who will conquer evil. "And I will put enmity between thee and the woman, and between thy seed and her seed." It shall bruise thy head, and thou shalt bruise his heel. Finally, Genesis 3:19 emphasizes the ultimate consequence of sin. In the sweat of thy face shalt thou eat bread, till thou return unto the ground, for out of it wast thou taken. For dust thou art, and unto dust shalt thou return. The story of the fall provides a foundational understanding of human nature, the origin of sin, and the need for redemption. It continues to resonate throughout history, offering profound insights into the human condition and the perpetual struggle between good and evil.